I call to order the Highland Park Board of Education hybrid workshop voting meeting and budget adoption for today, Monday, May 5th, 2025. The New Jersey Open Public Meetings Act was enacted to ensure the right of the public to have advance notice of and to attend the meetings of the public bodies at which any business affecting their interest is discussed or acted upon. In compliance with the Open Public Meeting Act, the Highland Park Board of Education has caused notice of this meeting, setting forth the time, date, and location to be submitted for publication to the Home News Tribune and Courier News and posted on the board's website at least 48 hours in advance of this meeting. Members of the public who wish to address the board will be given the opportunity to do so before the board adjourns for the evening. May I have roll call, please?
Dr. Beatty?
Here.
Mrs. Salzan?
Here.
Dr. Coleman? Dr. Pixley? Ms. Bruce?
Here.
Dr. Schoolman? Ms. Stanio?
Here.
Ms. Gardman?
Here.
Ms. Voorhees?
Here. We will now recess to executive session. Be it resolved pursuant to the Sunshine Act NJSA 10:4-12 and 13. The Highland Park Board of Education will now meet in closed session to discuss HIB and personnel. These exemptions are permitted to be discussed in closed session in accordance with NJSA 10:4-13. Information regarding the board's closed session discussion will be disclosed to the public as soon as the need for confidentiality no longer exists. I move that we recess to executive session. Second. All in favor?
Aye.
That was rough. No, I don't know where she is. Okay, we are going to reconvene to regular session. Or motion. That's a motion to reconvene to regular sessions.
Second.
May I have roll call, please?
Dr. Beatty?
Here.
Here.
Here. Dr. Pixley? Ms. Bruce? Here. Dr. Schoolman? Ms. Stanio?
Here.
Ms. Gardman?
Here.
Ms. Voorhees?
Here. Okay, we'll stand for the pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, we had several communications since our last meeting. Few requesting information, transfer card, head lice policy, music start times at the middle school, and middle school band. The next item on the agenda is the approval of minutes for the hybrid workshop voting meeting and executive session for March 24th, 2025, and the hybrid special voting workshop meeting minutes for April 10th, 2025. I move that we approve those minutes. Second.
Dr. Beatty?
Yes.
Salzan?
Yes.
Dr. Coleman?
Yes.
Dr. Pixley? Ms. Bruce?
Yes.
Dr. Schoolman? Ms. Stanio?
Yes.
Ms. Gardman?
Yes.
Ms. Voorhees?
Yes. We're going to move on to our student representative report.
Hi, everyone. So Irving has been bustling busy with awesome fun and learning opportunities. Last week, Irving celebrated their wonderful administrative assistants for all they do at Irving School each day. And our kindergarten students enjoyed their trip to the State Theater to see Under the Magic Moon last week. Our preschool and kindergarten students loved the petting zoo that came out on Friday. This was a great opportunity for learning, and we are gracious to the PTO for supporting this. We started off the week of teacher and staff appreciation with a breakfast, and we are thankful to our families and their generous donations to stock the lounge for the faculty and provide gift cards to rattle off. There are fun activities planned for the week, and we are lucky to have the best, most dedicated staff. Our preschoolers will enjoy their walking trip to the HP library starting this week. They will learn all about how the library works with Miss Karen. First grade will visit the Turtleback Zoo on May 14th, and this trip is always a fan favorite. Kindergarten and first grade registration is underway, and we have drop-off days on Wednesday and Friday this week. Please make sure you pass along this information to anyone you know who has students living in Highland Park. And finally, for Irving, our preschool orientation for all new families will be on May 30th, and more information will be sent home to our newly enrolled families for next fall with the details.
All right, so for Bartle, this week is Teacher Appreciation Week. Ms. Knapp, Ms. Baldzone, and the PTO will celebrate the staff each day. This upcoming Friday, May 9th, is Field Day at the high school for Bartle. A big thank you to Mr. Stark and Mr. Roy for planning a fun day for the Bartle students. On Monday, May 12th, the students will participate in an anti-bullying dance assembly. And the 5th grade students are going to Camp Mason on May 20th to 22nd. The 2nd grade will have their field trip to Liberty Science Center on May 22nd. And on May 29th, the 5th grade will walk to the middle school to learn about a day in the life of a middle schooler in preparation for their transition to middle school next year. Also, NJSLA math testing will take place this week on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. Now going on to the middle school. The week before spring break was full of energy for the school. During Spirit Week, students had a blast participating in theme days like Pajama Day, Twin Day, and Color Wars. The festivities wrapped up with a high energy pep rally, celebrating our spring sports teams and a friendly grade level competition that brought the whole school together. For science, NJSLA this Tuesday, the 6th, and Wednesday, the 7th, is the Science NJSLA testing for 8th grade students only. 6th and 7th grade students will have a delayed opening tomorrow and Wednesday and should report to school by 9:45. It's also Teacher Appreciation Week for the middle school. They've got a fun-filled lineup planned to celebrate the incredible staff. The PTSO is helping to make it all happen. We have a theme of where in the world is Carmen Cashel Brady, who the teachers have to find through clues and prizes, and our counterpart, Henchman D. Payne, who stole the owl mascot. 8th graders have a permission slip. The permission slips and payment for the field trips are due Tuesday, May 13th. Please be handed in to Miss Ailey or Miss Carter by then. And lastly, for the middle school, the ELA and Jess LA is coming up on May 12th and 13th. A letter with all of the information will be sent this.
Now for the high school. This week is Teacher Appreciation Week, and we are excited to celebrate our dedicated educators with a series of thoughtful events organized by our wonderful PTSO. Just before spring break, we wrapped up a spirited Spring Spirit Week, which was won by the senior class. The week concluded with an incredible pep rally featuring our very first live rock band performance, a memorable highlight for students and staff alike. This spring, our high school sports teams have had a strong showing across multiple disciplines. The softball team currently holds a 6-2 record and stands in 2nd place in the GMC Gold Division. Boys tennis has performed well with a 6-3 record, earning 3rd place in the GMC White Division while competing against other mostly large Group 3 and Group 4 schools. In track, the boys team placed 2nd in the GMC White Division with a standout performance from Robert O'Connell in the 800 meter, Costa Hansulis in the 110 hurdles, and Marcos Hansulis in javelin, who each took 1st place in their event. Marcos' javelin throw is currently the farthest in New Jersey this season. Additional top finishes came from Sharat Sadnis, who was 2nd in the 200 meter, and Julian Newton, who was 2nd in shot put. The girls' track team placed 6th in the division, highlighted by London Atkins, 1st place in the long jump, and Connie Zhang, 2nd place finish in the triple jump. And that's all for the high school.
Thank you so much. Are there any questions or comments for our student reps?
Yeah. Anna, it looks like we know where you're going to college.
Yes, so I'm going to the University of Michigan.
Updates?
I'm going to Western Michigan in Kalamazoo.
Well, congratulations to you both. And we're going to move on to the superintendent's report.
Well, I'm excited to piggyback off of all of that great stuff happening to celebrate some great things happening at Bartle. So tonight I am pleased to welcome Miss Jennifer Knapp and Miss Brooke Baldzone, our administrators from Bartle, to come up to the podium for our student spotlight.
Good evening, everyone. We're always excited to be here to spotlight our Bartle Dolphins, and we always select students that exceed our Bartle expectations of being kind, responsible, and respectful. So we always open it up to the staff at Bartle to nominate the students that they feel exceed our expectations. And this time, we had our nominations and we selected 2 Bartle students. This first student was nominated by Mr. B, and I'm going to spotlight Zanaya. So Mr. B wished he could be here because he was so excited to nominate you. But I'm going to read what he wrote about you, okay? Great. Zanaya has been such a leader in music this year. Whether performing in school ensembles or setting the bar in class, she models respect, kindness, and creativity to encourage her classmates to be their best. I'm proud that she's so involved in the music program and in peaks and valleys. So he really wanted to be here because has not stopped saying how proud he is of you this year in music. So you should be proud of yourself as well. And Ms. Baldizone and I are proud of you too. So congratulations, Zanaya.
We also have another spotlight tonight. So this student was nominated by Ms. McGreevy, our media specialist. So I'm going to be speaking about Emily Hung. So Ms. McGreevy wrote, in January, I started a reading challenge for each grade where there are about 12 books or series that she wanted the students in that grade to try. Emily finished the 2nd grade list and then proceeded to finish the 3rd and 4th and 5th grade reading lists as well. She finished before any 5th graders even finished. She is also a reliable, bright, and enthusiastic student in all other respects. So we congratulate Emily tonight as well. Smile. You're the whole. She makes you smile. She gives that smile. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Knapp and Ms. Baldizone, and congratulations to our amazing Bartle students. Sounds like some really great things happening, and we're all really proud of you. And to your cheer squad, I need some hype people. If you can come back and cheer for me. No, okay, I try.
Go Blue Jays.
I love the support. That really warms my heart. So thank you all again. Congratulations. And you're more than welcome to stay for the duration of the meeting. However, I know our administrators have had long days, so please feel free to leave. And thank you again and congratulations. All right, so moving on, tonight we have a couple of things. Well, really one under my superintendent's report is the final budget hearing. So I want to thank the board and community for being flexible and changing our meeting deadline. We are really proud to share that, really excited to share that the state, the NJDOE did approve our tax levy incentive aid package. So it's a good thing we pushed the meeting back, so we were able to adjust our final budget hearing. There's my cheering squad, there's my cheering squad. So we were able to adjust the final budget with the support of the tax levy incentive aid package. So that gave us a little flexibility. So thank you everyone for being flexible on a Monday. So tonight we'll do we'll go through the budget presentation. We'll open it up to questions. There is a public hearing specifically for the budget. So the first public comment will be budget only comments, and then we'll move to pass the motion to vote on the final budget, and then we'll move on to the rest of the normal board meeting. And now I'm just delaying until we get the clicker going. I don't know what else to say about it. Okay, other than, all right, so yeah, so some of the stuff you'll hear tonight, I know you've heard several times already, but just reiterating for those that may be watching for the first time or just need a refresher. Our budget process aligns with several things. So overall, our district operating budget aligns with our goals and objectives. The Elementary and Secondary Education Act, the Every Student Succeeds Act, and the New Jersey Student Learning Objectives. For our planning process, typically when one budget ends, the new planning session starts. So as soon as really as early as October, once the school year gets started, we're actually in the thick of budgeting, where we ask for requests and figure out what the needs are. But at that point, by December to January, everybody's local budgets, the administrators' budgets are built. They meet with myself and Mr. Rosa to go through all of their line items, sort of figuring out what our needs are, and any kind of requests that come to us. In February of this year, the department administrators met with the Finance and Facilities Committee on February 11th. We had our overview of our budget on March 11th as well with Finance and Facilities, and then our board discussions. We actually had 3 this year. So we had the preliminary budget on March 17th. We had the tax levy incentive aid package board meeting on April 10th, and then tonight for our final budget hearing. So I know I've said this several times, but I'll reiterate it again, that when we plan for our budget, we plan in 3 buckets. So our level 1 planning, our legal requirements. So those would be anything that has to do with New Jersey student learning standards, special education, multi-language learners, anything that our state legal requirements get our first budget line, those are automatics. Our level 2, which are required by board policy, those would be local budgeting items. That would be, for example, if we required more credits to graduate, if we wanted all of our students to take a certain class, if there are requirements where we go above and beyond as per our board policy that's written into policy, those would be required items for a level 2 budget to include in the budget. And then our level 3 bucket items are not required, but are high investment. So they might not be in policy, but there are things as a community and as a district, we really want to invest in and believe in. For example, our music programs, our mental health programs, computer science programming, STEM programs, anything that is above and beyond, but it's not written in policy, but we believe in is a level 3 budget item. So those 3 buckets are really important every year, but more so now than ever, because when we're looking at budget, obviously the legal requirements we have to do, anything in board policy we have to do, and then sort of whatever money is left over, we can do for the other high priority items that we feel as a community, closing the achievement gap with interventionists, things like that are above and beyond the state requirement and board policy. That becomes really hard when we lose money from the New Jersey Department of Education, from the state funding formula. And so we really have to kind of chip away at what is most meaningful. And I know there were some hard decisions that we had to make. So not only were there issues with our fiscal responsibility that came with the state funding formula changing, which I know we've discussed several times, We're seeing an increased cost for students with disabilities, whether it's locally in terms of our programming, really out of district tuition increases, transportation increases. So all of those we have to take into account. As I know we've been saying a lot, our facility maintenance projects are extraordinary. As you will see tonight, we finally have a bid for and passed for the Bartle construction. That is of significant cost to the district. We're working on trying to update some of the bathrooms at Bartle, just fixing structural repairs and maintenance can be costly. We have federal and state mandates that continue to come at us. This year, we're negotiating with the Highland Park Admin Association, so their contract expires, so we have to think about fiscal outcomes that come out of that contract negotiations. We're always looking for ways to save money. So one of the things we did this year, which we do every year, is look at student enrollment and then our needs. So we really are, looking at that with a fine tooth comb to make sure, that we don't have excessively high classes, especially at the elementary level. So we try to look for balance in all of those things. And then, of course, analysis of factors that affect state aid as well.
Great. So as we reviewed on March 17th of our tentative budget hearing, we really analyzed what happened to state aid this year. So the state made some changes in the calculation. They provide. Can you hear me now? Okay. So the state, the DOE changed the calculation of state aid. They provided funding for the actual number of at-risk students. They also used an average of the last 3 years of district income and property values. And they also capped the amount of state aid that could be increased or decreased. Because they used an average of the last 3 years, our community's district income and property values really took a significant increase. So the state, when doing the funding formula, when they did the calculation showed that our local fair share of $34,250,164 is actually higher than our tax levy, which makes our district below adequacy about $1.3 million. So this allowed the district to be eligible to apply for the tax levy incentive aid application. I looked back for many years and I've never seen a district ever be below adequacy. You were always typically above adequacy. Interesting enough, this year they also put a cap on how much state aid could be increased or decreased. So doing the calculation, they capped the amount we could decrease. So we only lost 3% this year. However, we don't know what next year will hold. So on I think it was April 10th, we held another board meeting to review the tax levy incentive aid application. So with the board's support, it allows districts who are below adequacy to apply for an increase in tax levy in order to satisfy the thoroughness and efficiency standards. The board approved on April 10th the submission of the application in the amount of $1,055,000. This included curriculum upgrades of $72,000, an increase of Tier 3 mental health services of $280,000. It included to save the media specialist, the part-time specialist at Irving, the full-time specialist at Bartle. A classroom teacher, the high school computer science teacher position was saved, and it also included facility repairs in the amount of $443,000. The district's application was approved on April 28th in the full amount. The state kicked in some aid of $50,000 they're giving us towards the tax levy increase. So the net tax levy increase to the community is around $1,004,762. This is actually contingent on the state passing their budget, which happens and has to be approved by June 30th.
So what will this increase plus what we had originally budgeted for, what will it do? And just to remind everyone, if you didn't watch that board meeting, During the preliminary budget and the final budget, things happen. So sometimes more so than others, and we had a couple of new unexpected items come onto our plate that are costly for the district that required us to have to make those additional cuts. So they weren't actually part of the preliminary budget when we had this conversation back in March, but in between the preliminary budget and today, they had come up on our radar because we had some of the level one budgeting that was state mandated requirements that were going to be very costly to the district that we have to budget for. So what does all of this mean? So same as the preliminary budget, we're still fully staffed with qualified personnel. We'll be able to maintain our instructional resources and update and align to any of the standards for ELA, math, science, and multi-language learners. We're able to provide instructional programs just with some slight adjustments due to enrollment and changing student needs. So for example, though, you'll see on the budget tonight, on the board agenda tonight, a couple of reductions in force. That was a result of a preliminary budget. But I will say that the needs are being serviced. So we did a careful analysis, again, data-driven and student need-driven. So for example, a reading interventionist at Irving, we have 2. So we're reducing 1 because the numbers actually suggest that we can stay with 1. And I think part of that is the work that we're doing with the OG training of our staff, tools of the mind and full day preschool that we're actually seeing that we're closing those gaps early and hitting those targeted students. So we're actually seeing less students post-COVID in intervention at Irving. So we're really happy about that. So it doesn't mean that we're not having anything there. We are, but we're able to save it in that area. So that's how we're looking and maintaining some our programs and adjusting. We're able to, our needs are though still great at Bartle for ELA and math. So we're maintaining those 2 additional positions with the budget. We're still able to provide courtesy transportation for students on hazardous routes. And then changes from the preliminary budget, we're able to upgrade our math resources with Envisions, expanding that pilot out at the early childhood grade levels. We'll be able to, like Mr. Rosa said, maintain our Irving and Bartle Media Center specialists, maintain the high school computer science teacher, and then maintain and increase our tier 3 support for mental health services. In addition, so you'll see we already talked about the Bartle structural repair. We'll be able to include in our budget for some of our facility improvements, the Irving renovation for an additional preschool classroom. 40% is funded by the state grant. That construction work will happen, start probably over the summer into next year. So we will expand 1 additional class to the 26-27 school year. We're able to increase security cameras at high school and middle school, replace a really old and outdated heat pump at Irving, the fire alarm panel replacement at the high school, middle school, some bleacher repairs and maintenance at the high school and middle school, and the door hardware system at Bartle and Irving. In addition, we're able to set aside some funds for supervision for in-district after hours public facing events. So that was been something that we've been talking about at the safety committee meeting was we've been doing really great things to increase our safety and security during the school day, but things have come up recently at after school public facing events that required some attention. So we're able to provide a little bit of that support. So we'll go on to the finances.
So taking a look at our revenue snapshot, the proposed budgeted revenue is presenting a 6.06 general tax levy increase. This includes the normal 2% increase of our tax levy from last year. It also includes about a healthcare adjustment cost of about $280,000. And as I mentioned earlier, the tax levy incentive of roughly $1 million. The budget also has a line item for that tax levy incentive aid that the state is giving the district for taking the tax levy incentive of $50,000. You'll notice that our state aid was decreased 3%. We're projecting extraordinary aid to be $1 million. This is an estimate. Our aid is not known until for this year, the aid is not known until July 2025. We're currently working on the extraordinary aid application, which is due at the end of May. Other local sources and interests, which could include interest income, tuition, the pilot money from the borough, enterprise activities and refunds of prior year's expenses. We're trending a little bit lower because we're not going to have as many out of district students from other school districts attending our school district. And we're projecting a decrease in interest income. The federal aid or SEMI program, this is a dollar amount that is determined by the state. They recently changed the way they're funding the SEMI program, so you'll see a huge decrease. We're also budgeting for the utilization of capital reserve to fund the Bartle structural repair that's needed, and also our portion of the urban alteration for the pre-K classroom. 40% is funded by the state for that project. We're going to be using $80,000 of maintenance reserve and $10,000 of emergency reserve, and we're projecting a surplus of 1.4 million. So our overall budgeted increase from revenues from last year to next year is 7.11% or $2.9 million. Moving on to expenditures, you'll see that this has all been updated with the tax levy, including the tax levy's projected expenditures. Regular programs of instruction is decreasing slightly by $25,000. Our total special education instruction is decreasing 5%. I think there's a shift between the programming and the out-of-district placements. Total bilingual instruction or education is increasing 7%. The total co-curricular athletics after school and summer programs is increasing 11.88%. The supplemental and at-risk instruction is decreasing 7%, and total tuition overall is decreasing $36,000 or less than 1%. Attendance, health-related, and other support services and guidance are increasing about 5%. Special education support services is increasing 10.93%. That's directly related to the Tier 3 mental health services. Improvement of instruction, staff training, and media services is decreasing about 8.9%. I think there's a shift in the administration between between curriculum and athletics. School district central IT and administrative costs is increasing 3.89%. The operation and maintenance of plants is increasing 9%, which is including all of those projects that we submitted for the tax levy. Student transportation services is decreasing about 2.8%. Employee benefits overall is increasing 8.27%. And that capital outlay is the capital reserve transfer is increasing significantly because of that Bartle structural repair, and our transfer of funds for charter schools. So that's something that's given to us by the state is increasing about 21%. So what does this mean overall? The estimated tax impact on a 6.06 tax levy increase. The average assessed home value that was given to us by the CFO is $481,500. So the impact on taxes overall, including the tax levy increase and the tax levy incentive increase, is for the average homeowner going to be $7,999.37 annually. That's an increase of $486.01 over this year. Any questions?
So we'll open it up to questions or comments.
Thank you so much. Quick question on, sorry, let me get back to the slide on the expenditure slide. Nope, sorry, on the expenditure slide, the total supplemental at-risk instruction decrease of 7.12% is specifically due to the removal of the reading support?
It's actually, that I have a note that it's actually due to the reduction of the one Irving interventionist
That's
that was
what- yeah.
data driven. Mhm.
That's what I meant. Thank you.
How is it that student transportation decreases? How do we get a decrease in student transportation service?
So we have less students going out of district. However, the cost of sending those students out of district has increased.
Mhm.
So the transportation, we're projecting a 5% increase, but we were able to have some savings like of $80,000 in transportation. So that resulted in a negative 2%, I think.
I just can't stop looking at that 21% increase to transfer funds to charter schools.
Yes,
Me
I mean,
yeah.
that's our highest percentage increase.
Yes, we're projecting 23 students attending charter schools next year.
I will say one of the things we do require every year is residency reports from our charter. So every year, instead of them rolling over in our student information system year to year, they don't roll over and they have to come and always show proof of residency every year. That's something we try to do to mitigate, to make sure that they are actually living in Highland Park. So sometimes we're able to catch a couple here and there that don't, because they don't bring their documentation or they're not residing in Highland Park. So we try to do things to help mitigate it, but yeah. Yeah, it is.
1%.
It is. I do believe though, I know a couple local charters that have closed due to low enrollment. So I think there's this fluctuation, happening. So, I mean, all we can do is hope that we can offer a better product.
No, that increase is due to an increased number of students or the cost per student, or a little bit of both.
I think it's number of students. Yeah.
Each charter school charges differently, and twice a year Lori works with Jody Parsons to confirm the number of students. All the charter schools have a deadline to submit their student names twice a year in the fall in October and around this time of year. And then Jody and Lori work together to diligently go through the list to make sure that they are residents and that they do meet all of the requirements. And then once it's certified, then the state issues the cost. But they also tell you what you have to project for the next year.
Okay, with no other questions or comments, that completes my report. So now we can go on to the public hearing.
All right, so this public comment is specific to the 2025-2026 budget. The Highland Park Board of Education welcomes public participation and has reserved this time for your comments on the 2025 and 2026 budget only. Board policy number 0167 establishes and regulates the right of the public to participate in public meetings. There's nobody in person. So Angela, how many people do we have online? 16. If there's anybody for public comment on the budget, please raise your hand. Okay, I'm just gonna say it one more time in case people are, listening and doing things and, washing dishes, whatever. If anybody online is here for public comment on the budget, please raise your hand and Angela will help you come off mute. All right, and with no hands raised, we are closing the 2025-2026 budget public comment. Okay, so now we are going to move approval of the 2025-2026 district budget. I move 12A. The resolution is written in its entirety. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but the resolution basically covers everything that Denise went over in detail. So I'd like to move 12A.
Second.
Dr. Beatty,
Yes.
Ms. Cassel Dunn.
Yes.
Dr. Coleman,
Yes.
is Dr. Pixley online? Ms. Cruz? Yes. Dr. Schoolman,
Yes.
Ms. Stanio,
Yes.
Ms. Bardman,
Yes.
Ms. Voorhees.
Yes.
Okay. We are now moving to regular public comment. So this can be on anything. So the Highland Park Board of Education welcomes public participation and has reserved this time for your comments. If anybody online has a comment for general public comment, please raise your hand and Angelo will let us know and unmute you. Okay, and with no hands raised, we are going to close that public comment. We're now going to move to board committee reports and recommendations. Dr. Beatty, you're first with curriculum and instruction.
All right. Curriculum instruction had an offline meeting because we met on the day we usually did with another budget meeting, and then 2/3 of the committee were traveling for work. So we had an agenda sent out and could ask questions. So we on the agenda was a bookshelf grant. This is a partnership with the SPAN Parent Advocacy Network. And they'll work with us to conduct a brief pre-survey about parental engagement around literacy, host workshops for both parents and teachers on early literacy and cross-curricular connections, and award a $500 grant to implement an action plan, which can include purchasing books, games, literacy materials, and so forth. We also, the Schedule B committee also recommended the creation of the Spanish club. And so that was also an agenda item. Data analysis around the cell phone survey, both with parents and students was there. And then finally, field trip approvals included a sensory play at the State Theater for students with special needs, visiting the Zimmerly Museum, tours for students who will transition to new schools in the fall, and a dress rehearsal for the spring concert. And that is it for curriculum instruction. Oh. Well, don't we just stop for discussion first? Or no?
Oh, you read the agenda.
I do? Okay. Oh, yeah, okay. And so in terms of voting items, we have approval of the field trip requests that I just mentioned, approval of HID reports, approval of a number of job descriptions, including assistant principal, supervisor of curriculum instruction, supervisor of counseling, health and wellness, athletic programs, and sports medicine administrator, executive director of personnel, executive director of curriculum instruction. There's also an approval of a MOU with the College of New Jersey. That's around a STEM fellowship that's funded by the NSF Robert Noyce Teacher Scholarship Program. And finally, approval of home instruction students. So there's 3 students. And that's it. Any questions?
Okay, equity and excellence.
No update at this time. We'll be meeting next week.
All right, finance and facilities.
We met, seems like an awful long time ago, because we meet again next week. We met back on April the 8th. Mostly everything that we talked about is now part of this final budget. We talked at that time about the tax levy and the changing of the budget and so forth. I'm not going to go into all that because we got the results of that. The only other pieces that we talked about at that meeting, we had a facilities project update. Baseball field work is underway. At that point, gates and fencing had been installed. Once the season is over, the rest of the work will be done. Once our sports season is over for our students. At that point, things probably have changed, but for the greenhouse, bids were coming in too high. We have a total of $200,000 in total to complete the project. So John's been working on figuring out how to make that happen, but right now bids were coming in too high. And at that time, he spoke about that the foundation repair work around Irving School was going to happen over spring break, to excavate, to get the water, to stop the water that's coming in there. We also had at that point, a report from our after-school program, and Colin commented at that time, we've learned more since that the subsidy application process is moving very slowly. At that point, we had 15 subsidy agreements. I don't know that we've had very many more since then. We also spoke at that point, and I shared with the board in my minutes earlier, that the after-school program is working, we've come to learn is working at a significant deficit. Because of the hiring that was needed to be in compliance, to get licensed by the state, we need to hire considerably more staff, and that has impacted, put us into a deficit. We did earn the licensing that we intended to do, but we now realize it's come at a cost of about $200,000 in employees, in salaries, basically. So Dr. Seska and Mr. Rosa have been looking for ways and implementing ways to try to mitigate our loss as much as possible, including, you'll see on the agenda, that eliminating the assistant manager position. And they've been working along with Colin to try to do what they can to get the county to move more quickly in approving these subsidies. If the subsidies were to be approved, that would certainly help our bottom line, but that's not happening. It's both coming in slowly and also a good percentage are not being approved for a variety of reasons. Mr. Rosa is working with our auditors to discuss the options to cover the deficit that we have for that program right now. Including we do have some money in the retained earnings from previous years that we could potentially put towards this deficit. And then in addition, in finance facilities and follow-up meetings, we're looking at other options for the future and how to sustain our before and after care program, which is very important to us. But the options that we're looking at are considering to go out for a RFP and to consider once again to look for an outside program to come in and manage our after-school program, an outside organization to come in and manage our after-school program. We tried it 2 years ago. We decided to, at that time, keep it in-house. While we've accomplished quite a bit in those 2 years in terms of getting licensed, in terms of having a program where students are safely supervised with staff that's trained, we're learning now it's coming at a significant financial cost as well as a cost to district administrative time and resources. So we're still looking at the RFP possibility, looking at the issue of raising rates, the cost and benefits of the licensing, that we thought was very important. And now we have to review the cost and analyze that with the benefit of licensing. So that's all has come through finance and facilities and through the board in general, with more to come on that. And on the agenda tonight, we have the approval of our bill list, travel related reimbursement. We're voting on the contract for Effective School Solutions to provide professional development for our paraprofessionals. Oh, actually, they did this. This is a retroactive pay on that one. Other professional services, including a pre-prom assembly speaker, some pass-through professional development, and for ourselves, a clinic with the middle school band, the Lead You workshop, and a group to help us with bilingual evaluations for Child Study Team. We also have on our agenda the approval of a safety grant application that we received in the amount of $2,400. And I believe that was going to go towards after-school security support, I think, for our after-school, some of our after-school public programs.
Yeah.
Acceptance of the Sustainable Jersey grant for schools for $2,000 for Bartle. Some other non-public pass-through technology purchases for one of our parochial schools, and another one, or there's two of them technology purchases, that's 7 and 8. We have out-of-district tuition for a McKinney-Vento student. This was back from 22-23, the South Brunswick has sent us the bill for. A bedside instruction for one student. And we had a bid for the Bartle School bathroom project that came in too high. So this is to reject that. Number 11 is to reject that proposal. And number 12 is a master special education tuition agreement with the Ed Services Commission for 5 years going forward. Some other, we thank very much the Highland Park Educational Foundation for all these grants for our school district. So it's a lot of wonderful opportunities we're providing our students, including our outdoor education, some clubs. You can read through the list. Helping out with Peaks and Valleys mentoring, a lot of our important diversity and wellness day. So we thank them very much for supporting our programs. Last, we're coming to the approval of the proposal for the additional pre-K classroom by altering the cafeteria at Irving. This is a proposal for the architecture, right? For that, yeah, it's architectural services for that alteration. And number 15 is the bid for the Bartle structural repairs. That one is $1,417,000 to get that work finally done. So that is finance facilities. Are there any questions or comments? Okay. Moving right on. I did a great job, I guess.
Okay, and I will go over the personnel agenda items. So number 1 for personnel is the approval of reduction in force. This is for following positions: 1 behaviorist, 1 reading interventionist at Irving, 1 SEL health teacher at Bartle Elementary, and then 1 athletic coordinator at the high school. Numbers 2 through 6 are non-renewal of employees. Number 7 is a non-renewal for reduction in force. Number 8, you will see attached to the agenda a very long list of reappointments for the following year. So that is for reappointment of staff. Number 9 is for the leave of absences as listed. Number 10 is approval of resignation. So we have John McLean, Jennifer Rosalie, Janet Behrens, Jalissa Hazen, Michelle DeLuca, Michelle DeMarco, Devorah Dieter, and Dana Kessel. Thank you for your time here. We have number 11 is the approval of some appointments. So welcome Ms. Tomasino, for our art teacher at Bartle. We have a new occupational therapist, Julianne Pieros, a learning disabilities teacher consultant, Nicola Skimeka. Mr. Robinson is sticking with us for a little bit for some extra support in central office. Mr. Presti is with band camp this summer. Ruth Bayer for team treatment, and a few other staff for team treatment. Ms. Gerlach, Ms. Claremont, Amber Davis, Amber Tyler. Ms. Young is one-to-one paraprofessional at the middle school, extra compensation for track and field. Wendy Yeager, for the bilingual parent advisory committee, night presenter. Some coverage for AP exams from our guidance staff. Mr. Behringer, also to assist, one-to-one para for, orchestra, the middle school. Some volunteers for newcomer family night. Very excited about that. So thank you for coming to work that newcomer family night. And then number 12 is the approval of transfers. So Ms. Claremont is going to be transferring to the reading interventionist Barlow Elementary School position in September. Ms. Maiden and to the elementary classroom. Mr. Gervin is the full-time teacher of social studies at the high school, and Michelle Daly as the teacher in Irving Primary School. And those are for September. And number 13 is the appointment of the 2025-2026 doctoral master's level psychology practicum students for the Teen Center. And those students are listed on the next page, A through H. We're very excited to have you as well. Okay, for policies and regulations, we have one policy ready for first read. This is the public policy that we were revising to include remote participation of board members. Then we also have two policies and regulations for second reading, student smoking, spectator conduct for interscholastic events, and then the regulation for student smoking as well. And that concludes personnel and policy. So we will now proceed to our third public comment. So I find it. Okay. So the Highland Park Board of Education welcomes public participation and is reserved at this time for your comments. Angela, how many people do we have online? 10. Okay. Anybody online for public comment? Please raise your hand and Angela will let us know and you can unmute yourself and share. And with no hands raised, we're going to close public comment. Okay, now we'll move to board action items, curriculum instruction.
I move items 1 through 5.
Second.
Dr. Beatty,
Yes.
Ms. Cassel Dunn,
Yes.
Dr. Coleman,
Yes.
Ms. Prus,
Yes.
Dr. Schoolman,
Yes.
Ms. Stanio,
Yes.
Ms. Vargman,
Yes.
Ms. Voorhees.
Yes.
Finance and facilities.
I move items 1 through 15.
Second.
Dr. Beatty,
Yes.
Ms. Cassel Dunn,
Yes.
Dr. Coleman,
Yes.
Ms. Prus,
Yes.
Dr. Schoolman,
Yes.
Ms. Stanio,
Yes.
Ms. Vargman,
Yes.
Ms. Voorhees.
Yes.
For personnel, I'd like to move numbers 1 through 13.
Second.
Dr. Beatty.
Yes.
Ms. Cassel Dunn,
Yes.
Dr. Coleman,
Yes.
Dr. sorry, Ms. Prus,
Yes.
Dr. Schoolman,
I'd like to abstain on 2 through 7 and vote yes on the rest. Sorry.
Ms. Stanio,
Yes.
Ms. Vargman,
Yes.
Ms. Voorhees.
Yes.
And for policies and regulations, I move number 1 and 2.
Second.
Dr. Beatty,
Yes.
sorry, Ms. Cassel Dunn,
Yes.
Dr. Coleman,
Yes.
Ms. Prus,
Yes.
Dr. Schoolman,
Yes.
Ms. Stanio,
Yes.
Ms. Vargman,
Yes.
Ms. Voorhees.
Yes.
Okay, that concludes our action items. Are there any board liaison reports for today?
So, oh, good. Okay. So the Human Relations Committee or Commission has been very busy this spring, and there are a number of exciting events and opportunities. There are 3 flag raising events coming up in June. June 4th is the Caribbean American Heritage Month flag raising at 6 p.m. June 11th is the Pride Month flag raising at 6 p.m. and June 19th is the Juneteenth flag raising at 5 p.m. All of these events will be held outside at the Highland Park Community Center, rain or shine. There's maybe an opportunity in the works for our artistic students. The commission's considering revisiting the completion of the gratitude tree that was started last spring and summer. And if they can find a location, they're asking if there are any students who would want to volunteer to paint a mural. And I'll keep you all posted on that. The commission is committed to promoting cultural awareness through monthly features on their social media page, highlighting the diverse communities within our town. If you have cultural traditions, stories, or events that are often underrepresented, please reach out to the Human Resources Commission. The commission would love to help share and celebrate them. The commission's also seeking more volunteers to join the commission. So if there are any teachers, staff, parents, I'm not sure about students yet, but I did ask and I will find out and make that more public. If anybody wants to volunteer, reach out to the commission chairs, Pauline and Dr. Moisha. And their email is hrc@hpborough.com. I'm also going to give all this information and flyers to Dr. Seuss because she could put it in our board bulletin and weekly message. And also, if anyone wants to join the next meeting for the Human Relations Commission, it's May 21st at 7:30 p.m. via the Google link on hpborough.com. And if you have any ideas you'd like to present to the commission or want to volunteer but cannot officially join the commission, your voice is also encouraged and welcome. So
Thank you. Any other liaison reports?
I have a report from the Board of Health. They shared this with the Borough Council, but thought that the school community might be interested in the measles vaccination coverage, just so we have an idea of how that's going in New Jersey and also in Highland Park. So they have coverage reach from 2023. I guess it's a little behind on accuracy there, but for the MMR, which is measles, mumps, and rubella, the vaccine rate among children in kindergarten in the United States was 92.7%. In New Jersey was 93.2%. And then just the general vaccination coverage for all vaccines for children in kindergarten, that gets a little bit more local. Middlesex County was 95.6% and Highland Park was 92.9%. So just some info. And then there was also just a question from Student Congress. They asked about how the vape alarms are going. They said from the students' perspective, they seem to not be very effective. That's the comment from the students. So I don't know if we can speak to that at all. If we've heard anything about the vape detectors in general, if they've been working well, not. But that was.
I don't know, but we have a safety committee meeting tomorrow, so we can ask for updates tomorrow.
Thank you.
Okay, Dr. Bixley's not here, but the CPAC fundraiser is June 13th at Pino's. It starts at 5:30 with a video game contest. And then 6 o'clock is honoring special education heroes. And then at 7:30 is music. So save the date for the CPAC fundraiser. Again, it's June 13th. And then I think that's it for liaison reports. Yes. Okay. President's report. We are almost at the end of our cycle for central leadership team meetings. So at our next meeting, we should be able to provide you with an update on our discussions around the cell phone policy and regulations and thinking about what we're doing. So basically what's been happening is we looked at the data from our surveys. We've been talking with the representatives from school leadership teams that are on the central leadership team. They take back our discussions, share it with their staff, then they come bring the information back to central leadership team. So it's a bit, takes a little bit of time, but our next meeting is coming up. And so we should have a consensus on how we'd like to move forward. So stay tuned for our next meeting in, what is it, like 2 weeks?
Yeah, 2 weeks. And then for board committees, what you'll see are updates, not as much the policy, so much as the regulation. When I looked at the wording of the policy, it didn't seem like anything should be adjusted. It's the regulation that needs to be adjusted. So that's what we're doing as part of that central leadership, school leadership team work. So once that is all inputted in there from the recommendations, it will go through committee for review and input as well. So we're close. One more meeting and I think we'll have it locked up and then it can go through committee. The hope is that it'll go through first and second read between June and July. That way in August, the shared messaging can go out. We have a whole communication rollout plan as well as part of all of this. So all of that will be discussed in committee and then shared publicly so that when that comes out, we'll be able to be full speed ahead with any implementation and changes to that policy and regulation for a September start. We are close. We are very, very close and it's very exciting.
Okay. Any old business?
Yeah, so sorry, I just had two quick questions. First, on the athletic coordinator position at the high school, could you kind of provide what's happening with that or where the responsibilities are gonna go?
Sure. So what we found was that, like I said, a deep dive into the budget, the position itself. So there's a lot of moving parts. So there are pieces of, if you read I don't know if you read the job description for the, I gave it a nice title and now I have to remember what it is. Hold please. So many good things. Yes.
Athletic programs and sports.
Yes, athletic programs and sports medicine administrator. So what you'll see is several different things under there. So we have an athletic coordinator who essentially now is part-time. So part-time, basically managing all the athletics and then a couple miscellaneous things and then teaches part-time. Some of the issues, because that staff member is part of a collective bargaining agreement, it really limits the position on what they can do. So right now the principal, so the job is actually divided up amongst several people. So the middle school principal, the high school principal, the athletic coordinator, faculty managers, there's a Schedule B position called faculty manager. And so there's a couple of people that get approved to do that because our athletic coordinator is also a wrestling coach in the winter and can't get to do everything. So divides up the job into a bunch of other people that we pay as well to do that job. And then some of the nursing and all of that work falls under the current job description of Director of Ed Services. So there's a lot of moving parts. It was brought to our attention from that program that they need more support because the couple of people that run all of that is not enough. And of course, when job descriptions are updated, it's a collective bargaining agreement situation. So we have to renegotiate what that amount is. And so when we had gotten a deep dive into that with the feedback that we heard that people, I can't really discuss much in personnel, but some of the feedback we got was that there's just some burnout from that position and from what is really needed for it. So in addition, we heard we've had to hire several athletic training groups because they are not servicing our students and our student athletes, and that's really disheartening. When we look at things, if you go to our website, some of our stuff is outdated and antiquated, and it's just a lot. And to have more people do this job, it just didn't seem fiscally responsible. So when we were looking at making some adjustments to the leadership team, part of it came out of this role when I did some research into other districts, that they have this new combined role of athletic trainer, because we can't ever hire a full-time athletic trainer. It'd be very hard to find a part-time athletic trainer. So what we're doing is morphing it together. So we will have, so we're going to be looking for someone very specific, needle in a haystack, but I'm very confident that we're going to be able to find that position. So essentially it's somebody who will have the degree and qualifications to be a certified athletic trainer that also wants to do program administration work, with scheduling the buses and doing the athletics and athletic programming and then that way they can do the work on the physicals. They can be the coordination to our district doctor, work with the nurses, make sure our AV machines are updated, right? All of that, the sort of medical background is sort of paramount. And then, of course, administrating, all of the athletics and stuff like that. So that was sort of the impetus of trying to figure out how we can better, within our really tight budget, how we can better service the students. And we thought that would be a really good model. So we're really excited about that to really move our athletics, in a forward thinking position. So it kind of came out of a lot of different conversations.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And I've been excited. I would hope that maybe there's some athletes in the room that might want to serve on a committee to hire for that position. So if anybody's interested, email ksusa@hbschools.net and we'll put you on the committee.
Any other new business? I'm sorry, old business. Okay, any new business?
I just want to take a moment to thank Christina and Denise for the and their staff for the incredible amount of work it took to get this budget together. The tax levy alone was, we think we had like a 2-week, they had like a 2-week turnaround from the time it came out, 3 weeks maybe. A tremendous amount of work, and now we are fortunate enough to be able to do a lot more with our district this year because we had that additional money. And in general, it was an incredibly complicated budget. I can't understating it by saying that. So thank you for all your hard work and your teams as well for getting us here.
Second, thank you.
Okay. And no, I move to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Good night, everyone.